Normally, when a person's life is taken, it's met with things like, I can't believe this has happened, or why him, or at the very least, condolences. However, when news spread that Birmingham gangster 31-year-old Gavin Parry had been killed on an industrial site on Western Road, close to the City Hospital in the Wilson Green area, in what was described as a pre-arranged ambush, people actually breathed a sigh of relief. Now that has to be hard to hear, especially if you're Gavin Parry's family. You see, according to reports, Gavin Perry was a well-known gangster in Birmingham circles. He was linked to GUNs, also robberies, and also selling Class A and Class B. Gavin Perry also had a reputation, and he was linked to the notorious Burger Bar Boys gang, and was considered feared and a hothead, and plain and simple out of control leading up to the M on April 13th of 2021. Gavin had also been involved in an altercation 2 weeks prior, which left 2 people So dangerous and out of control was Gavin that it's believed that Dante, kalsi, 28 years old, had armed himself with a semi-auto super and then struck Gavin Perry in the head, not once but twice, and it proved fatal. At the time of the incident, Gavin was said to have been wearing armoured vest and also been at a gathering on the Wilson Green industrial estate, actually in a car repair unit owned by Theo Bailey's family. The unit was used by friends and acquaintances to carry out car repairs, but also as a hangout spot. Now, by the time police had gathered at the scene, Gavin Parry was already declared dead, but police were under no illusions that this was a man who was not an innocent victim. Police also found out that Gavin Parry was also armed with a stem, but that GUN was not recovered. Birmingham Crown Court heard how Gavin Parry had a Sten machine on him at the time of his M. 2 live rounds of ammo was hidden in his jacket, which covered the vest. He also had 2 burner phones, including an iPhone, that he used to conduct his criminal business. Now, as I said, when police investigated the incident, they tracked Gavin Parry's movements. He had been caught on CCTV entering at the City Industrial Estate on an orange quad bike at roughly 4 p.m. on April 13th. The orange quad bike was actually not Gavin's. Gavin had actually stolen it just 60 minutes prior, and he used it to enter the industrial site. Now, meeting other owners and other workers in the units opposite, Gavin Parry was initially all smiles and he showed off the orange quad bike. However, when he locked eyes on Ramal Bailey, his demeanour quickly changed. There was no longer any laughs or smiles, and Gavin had walked over to Ramal and the 2 men were seen arguing. They were both animated. They closed the distance between each other and their heads were almost touching. Now, because each man did not back down, the intensity of those arguments grew worse and worse and worse, and it was classed as a highly charged incident. Now, following the argument and the dispute, Gavin Parry left the industrial estate in a car that followed him. Before he got into the friend's car, Gavin had pointed towards Ramal Bailey, his brother Theo Bailey, Dante Kalsi, and others, as if to warn them what is about to happen. Now, in that moment following, it was reported that Theo and Dante had forced their way into the manager's office and they disabled the CCTV. But they made a rookie mistake, because before disabling the CCTV, they actually went into another unit and retrieved an item that looked like a GUN. And with a span of 90 minutes, Gavin Parry had arrived back at the industrial unit in the passenger seat of a dark car. That car had actually reversed into the industrial site using the wrong lane. Now, as I said, Gavin Parry was in the passenger seat, and he quickly got out of the car. He was caught clutching the stem, and also his vest was already on. Because Gavin was a man with purpose, he quickly made his way to the repair shop, actually running, which was owned by Theo Bailey. What Gavin did not know and could not foresee was that Theo Bailey, Ramal Bailey, and Dante Kalsi, along with 10 other people, had already taken up their position in the car repair shop, and they lay in wait, waiting for Gavin to enter. Now, one of those 13 people, including Theo, Dante, and Ramal, had been equipped with the super machine. It was loaded and was trained on Gavin from the very moment that he pushed open the door to the repair shop. Now, before Gavin could find his own target, he had been struck twice with ammo, and as I said, the head area, the intention to K apparent from the offset. While Dante Kalsi was arrested for the M, brothers Theo and Ramal Bailey had shaved their heads and left Birmingham and went into hiding. Police described the brothers as dangerous, so dangerous in fact that they enlisted the help of Crime Stoppers and issued a public appeal pleading with the public to help locate the men. They even offered a reward of £1,000. Now, it was ironic that despite the police accepting that Gavin was a criminal, had links to the Burger Bar Boys gang, and the fact that he too had welled his own GUN and had robbed people just an hour prior, being the orange quad bike, that they served to paint Gavin as a victim, when, if the evidence is true, everyone involved were actually hell-bent on taking a life. They were all criminals and all had access to GUNs. This was the type of lifestyle that they lived. All people involved did not like police, and if they had issues, they'd rather handle the issues themselves rather than report to the police. The truth of the matter is, they took things into their own hands, that being Dante Kalsi, Theo Bailey, Ramal Bailey, and even Gavin Perry. There was no reason for Gavin Perry to have a STEM machine, also wear a vest, also be wearing a balaclava if all he was going to do was talk to the men. The fact that he had a GUN meant that he was going to use it. Now, only these 4 people know exactly what happened in the car repair site. Now, in court, Dante Kalsi described that the Bailey brothers were like family to him, and he had no idea who was the actual person who K'd Gavin. But if Gavin wasn't K'd right there and then the 13 people, including himself, would all likely be dead. Dante, who's actually serving a 10-year plus jail sentence right now for a previous shooting, told police that he moved Gavin's STEM machine and did not call police even though he knew Gavin was injured, as he was loyal to his pals, and Gavin had come to the unit to cause serious harm at the very least, or at the most to K all of them. Now, at the time, Dante says that he was rolling and had been drinking, celebrating a friend's birthday, so therefore he had no idea what happened. Dante Kalsi went on to say that he had no previous engagements or disputes or arguments with Gavin Perry, and he could care less what had happened to him. Now, Dante also stated that the only people that he feels sorry for is, of course, Gavin Perry's friends and family, as they lost a loved one. However, it was either a K or be K'd situation. Now, Dante, Theo, and Ramal all deny M and even manslaughter, and the trial continues. We'll see what happens next. Condolences. Stay safe. Safe.